What's up, all my Ewokshibles, droids, and Wookiees? It's Anna, also known as Star Wars Girl, and in today's video, I'm going to be doing a review of the season finale of House of the Dragon. But before I get into that, guys, my channel is Hardcore Shadow Band here on YouTube, so every single like, share, comment really helps out my channel, fighting the pesky YouTube algorithms. Also, if you guys haven't already, maybe take a minute, smash that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications. Make sure that that bell is set to all. That way you actually get notifications when I post videos and when I do live streams. And now that that's out of the way, let's get on to the review. All right, everyone, so I have some images pulled up to give you guys some visual aids while I do this review. I just like to start off by saying this is going to be completely full of spoilers. So if you guys don't want any spoilers, maybe wait until after you've watched the episode to watch this video. And if you guys don't care about spoilers, then welcome. You guys are in for a completely spoiled-filled video. Now, this picture I thought was funny because it says right here on Twitter, episode 10 out of context. And it's like, this literally is what happens. And I was screaming the entire time because I did know what happens going into it. And I was just interested to see how they would do it. And I think at least for this show, because they do kind of have everything outlined on what's going to happen with these characters, where everything is going, and, you know, kind of those details on that. At least, fingers crossed, we don't get a Game of Thrones season 8 redo with this show. I'm really hoping that that is not the case. But so this was, you know, the big season finale. So we got to have some dramatic death that, if you guys know, you know. But so this episode starts out with Rhaenys showing up and telling Rhaenyra and Daemon about Viserys died, and Alicent and the High Towers basically usurped the throne from you, and we're gonna go to war. They basically forced everyone that pledged to you to pledge to oh my god, why am I blanking on his name? Not Aemon. I'll think of it. Aegon. There we go. I don't know why I just blanked on that name. That always happens, though, when you like start filming these things. It always goes that way. Isn't that fun? And I guess that's what happens when you don't script your videos. But so she shows up and she's like, yo, shit just got real. Shit hit the fan. And, you know, they're coming for you and your children. And this sends Rhaenyra into an early labor. Now, in the book, she suffers through this labor for days. And with the way that they portrayed this episode, it seems like that it happened in like an afternoon. And, you know, for a woman that like started off, you know, when Rhaenyra was younger, she's like, I don't want to just be, you know, basically stuck somewhere having kids and like popping kids out. Like she had the conversation with Alicent, she had that conversation with Daemon, but this is her 6th baby. So at least, like, you know, she's got the willpower to push through these pregnancies, and she obviously loves her children very much. She loves all of her boys very much, even though we don't see the ones that she had with Daemon, except for in the one scene where she introduced them to her father. But she loves her kids. And in this episode, like when she's having her baby, she like will not let anyone help her, and she like literally pulls the thing out of her at one point. And I think that honestly is like her willpower. Like she's terrified to be strung up on a bed and have like a terrible C-section like her mother did. Like she's like, no, I'm fucking surviving this. And that's why I think she pulls the baby out of her, because if she did have the birth that her mom did, or she, you know, she had let them all help her, I think they would have tried to cut it out of her and she probably would have died. And I've seen some people comment online. I'm going to do a whole video separately just about Daemon and his actions in this episode. So, because there's a lot of people losing their minds over Daemon, because I feel like it's a thing now where they just have to make like the bad guy sexy. And I mean, I thought it was funny. One of my friends compared Matt Smith to a handsome Frankenstein, and now I can't unsee it. Now you guys probably can't unsee it either. Sorry, I spoiled that for you. But a lot of you are pissed off about Daemon's actions in this episode, but I'm like, well, he's not a good guy. Like, he's done a lot of shit. Yeah, he's played by Matt Smith, who's extremely likable, who's extremely talented, but he's done a lot of fucked up shit. But I feel like a lot of, I shouldn't just say fangirls, but a lot of the shippers, they kind of sweep that under the rug. So they're not acknowledging the fact that Daemon, he's not a good guy, and he does do bad things, and he's consistently done bad things. So the bad things and the way that he reacts to things in this episode, it's not really out of character for him, but because they like shipping him and Rhaenyra. I mean, they've been together a long time. I think that she knows that he's done like pretty fucked up shit in the past, and it shouldn't be any surprise that he does fucked up shit to her. So it's kind of like the people that ship the Joker and Harley Quinn. It's like, oh my gosh, the Joker is abusive to Harley. How surprising. But so I'm going to do a whole separate episode on his, you know, the way that he handled himself while Rhaenyra was giving birth and the stuff that happens after. But I mean, Rhaenyra pulls that baby out of her, so she's determined to live, and it sucks, you know, that she had a miscarriage. But when you look at the baby's like head, because in the book the baby has like dragon scales and like a tail, and it's like really, really fucked up, and so it's like this baby was gonna like be dead anyway. So if anything, the fact that she had a miscarriage this early in the pregnancy, if that's probably the only reason she actually survived the pregnancy. And I mean, the thing with Lena, like, I mean, she had some problems, and you know, they both had the same baby daddy, so it's like, ooh, there might be a common denominator here. But so Rhaenyra goes through that. Rhaenys goes and tells her boys, you know, you guys need to go, your grandpa's dead, go see your mother. And so she basically has a talk with both of her boys, you know, because Joffrey is still too little, and obviously the one she has with Daemon's are way too little. And so she has a talk with her boys like, yo, dad or grandpa's dead. I'm supposed to be the queen. My throne was usurped. Jace, you're my fucking heir. Like, you gotta act. Everything you do now is a reflection upon me. So you gotta, you know, get your shit together kind of stuff. Not that her boys were bad. Like, her boys are such like well-behaved, even, you know, they fought with their uncles. They're so much better behaved. Like, obviously, I think that, I mean, with all of their faults, it seems like, you know, they were actually decent parents to these boys as compared to the way, well, Viserys was, you know, sick and dying the whole time. Alicent seems to be like the shittiest mother in the world, because look at how all of her children came out. I mean, her daughter is special. I should say that she's got the special powers of foresight and whatnot. And, you know, she's predicting things like the beast beneath the boards. And you can go and look this up, all the things that she's like predicted. And then Aegon is like a little man whore that has his bastard kids fighting in pits. Like, what a shitty fucking son. And then Aemon, why am I getting all of these kids' names wrong? Blah. There's all the Targaryens, they all got the same damn names over and over again. But Aemon is freaking psycho. He's like a psychopath. Which I get he got his eye cut out, he had all this trauma. Kid is unhinged. Like, she birthed monsters, like, literally. And I mean, what Mother of the Year award, like, I feel like it's that thing, nature versus nurture. And it's like, Rhaenyra like loves her children. She loves all of her boys. All the scenes where she's with her boys, she's so loving to them, where Alicent kind of seems like, fed up with how psycho her kids are. Like, even when she's around her daughter, like, well, I mean, she told Sir Criston when Rhaenys, excuse me, all of these damn names, when Rhaenys like came out from you know, the ground with her dragon, she told Sir Criston, she said, protect, like, she didn't say her sons, she didn't say protect me, she said protect her daughter. So at least, like, you know which one of her children is her favorite. Like, obviously she loves her daughter, and maybe that's because her daughter doesn't really do anything wrong. She's kind of like innocent and, you know, simple in certain ways and aspects of that, even though, like, when she does, she is, I feel like she's one of those girls that just kind of stays out of things, at least the way that they're portraying her in this. Like, she's smart and she knows everyone takes her for granted, but, you know, when push comes to shove, she shows her intelligence in the situation. Like, when they're at the dinner and like her and Jace are dancing, like, maybe it's just the actress, but she's obviously very aware of what's going on. But anyways, back to this episode. So she tells her kids shit's hitting the fan, and, you know, it's not going to be good. And while they're having the cremation for their baby, Eric shows up, who was the one of the identical twins, and he basically says, yo, they fucking usurped your throne, you are my queen. He brings her the crown, and Daemon crowns her as queen of the Seven Kingdoms, and they got to start this little small council. And let me show you this. Is it on this one? Yeah. So we have the table, which was really freaking cool to see. Like, they light it up. So they didn't show this in like the actual Game of Thrones show, but they light up under the table, which is really cool to see that effect. And how, I mean, I wonder where the smoke is going, because they don't really show that. Like, I mean, when you have fire, there's smoke that goes places. So, I mean, they must have a really, really, really good ventilation back in this day. But that was one thing. I'm like, that would have been cool. Like, they could have had a smoke effect around everyone. I'm sure that would have been a nightmare to film, but I think that would have been a really, really cool effect that they could have used to their advantage during certain intense dialogue moments. If you guys know what I'm talking about, then you guys know what I'm talking about. But it was cool to see that and how they're going and plotting out. And at first, Rhaenyra is like, no, we're not going to war. And her and Daemon actually, have a little bit of a spat about that, because he's like planning for war while she's like popping out a kid and screaming. And you can just hear her screaming. Everyone's like looking at him like, yo, man, like, don't you want to go check on your wife? And I mean, him and Viserys were so different, but the second like Viserys found out, he's like ditched the tournament and he showed up and was there for his wife, which, he's like, yeah, cut the baby out. Yeah, kill my wife. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Also, who the fuck learned how to give C-sections back in those days? They like literally sliced open the top of her stomach. It's like, that's not where you do it. I mean, go watch Robin Hood with Kevin Costner. Even Morgan Freeman back then was like, yeah, we did it on horses. Like, yeah. And that chick lived and so did her baby. It's like, come on. Like, I know that's like totally different, but I mean, there's the C-sections. I mean, they happened back then. I mean, look at Macbeth and all of that fun stuff. So, I mean, obviously Daemon doesn't handle his emotions well, and he reacts very strongly when things don't go his way, as we do see in this episode, because he ends up getting into a spat with Rhaenyra because, like I said, like he's plotting a war, and she's like, I want to do everything in my power to prevent this war. We need to make sure we know who all of our allies are, so that way, we can just basically go to Alicent and the Greens and say, yo, everyone, here are all the people that are still loyal to me. I have more dragons than you, which Daemon is like, or someone there was like, let's use the dragons. And she's like, no, my father told me about, when you use dragons, a lot of innocent people die. That's a really bad idea. I know we have more dragons than the Greens do. The Greens have the freaking giant dragon. They got the most powerful, strongest, biggest dragon ever. Unless we take all of our dragons together and try to fight him, we're all going to be fucked if any of us try to go fight that dragon. But and Daemon's like, no, let's take all of our fucking dragons. We have more than anyone else in the world. We control the most dragons. Let's just all jump on our dragons, go to King's Landing and fuck this shit up. And Rhaenyra's like, nah, we ain't doing that. Which, honestly, in my opinion, they probably should have. A lot of shit would have been avoided, and I'm not gonna, if you guys don't know what happens after this, I'm not gonna spoil what happens after this, like in the books and all that. But honestly, they should have like given them a warning. They should have sent ravens to the people of King's Landing saying, hey, the Greens usurped Princess Rhaenyra's birthright. She was made heir by King Viserys, and we feel that he died under mysterious circumstances, because that's what Daemon says. He's like, yo, I think that bitch murdered my fucking brother, and let's go and attack them with dragons. What Rhaenyra should have said was, hey, let's send a bunch of ravens. Let's let them know we're coming with all of our dragons. Yeah, it'll give them time to prepare, but we have more dragons. And if we let the people know we are coming here with our dragons, they usurped the throne. It was my birthright. My father named me as heir. Everyone swore an oath to me. I'm coming to get my throne. What they did was shady as F. I'm letting all of you people in King's Landing know that I'm showing up with my dragons, and I'm prepared to fight because that was my father's wish. And it's very suspicious that on his deathbed, he all of a sudden changed his mind. And the last one to hear was the mother of the guy who now is claiming to be king. And that way, all of the people in King's Landing would be like, yo, she warned us. Let's get the F out of here. And she'll say, I won't harm anyone that's trying to flee. If you are harmed, it's, at the will of the Greens. And, if you guys all want to get out before I show up because there might be bloodshed, get out. And I mean, that's kind of, what America did, during World War II. They let everyone know in Japan, like, yo, we're coming. And they, thought that they were going to call the bluff. And then what happened in World War II happened in World War II, which it sucks That's a terrible part of our history, but war fucking sucks. War is terrible, and a lot of people fucking die in it. And so, and back in these days, I'm sure that they all know that war fucking sucks and a lot of fucking people die, especially when there's fucking dragons. So yeah, if I heard, oh, there's some kind of, I mean, I don't know why anyone lives in King's Landing at this point. I'd be like, I'm getting as far away from this shit as fucking possible. I'm gonna go live with her A's, and, well, I mean, it's really hard to avoid wars, but get the hell away from there, especially when there's fucking dragons. Like, why would you want to live in, especially if you can't like control a dragon, why would you want to live in a city full of fucking dragons? I'd be terrified. I'm like, I'm getting the fuck out of here, especially when you know that there's going to be a power struggle like that. Get the fuck out of there. So that's just my opinion. That's obviously not what happens. So Rhaenyra and Daemon get into kind of a fight because they're not agreeing on the way that things should be run. He chokes her, which I will say this, if they were not married, I think I would feel a little bit differently about this, but they are married. Maybe they're like into that kind of shit. I mean, they had their third, or they were on their third baby. I don't know. Maybe Rhaenyra likes to be choked, and so that's why Daemon, I don't know, maybe they're into kinky, weird fucking sex. I mean, you know, Daemon's a weird fucking guy, so it wouldn't surprise me. So when everyone's screaming that he, like, oh, he abused her, I'm like, well, how do you know that that's not part of their foreplay, and, like, she likes to be dominated by him in some sense, and that's what they do when they're arguing? And, I mean, that... Because I didn't get the sense like he was actually going to hurt her, and she wasn't like, I don't know, she didn't seem like she was struggling in the way, and she forgave him really fucking fast after, which is why I think that it might be, you know, like she didn't go, oh my God, I can't believe that you did that. So to me, it doesn't seem like that's the first time that happened. And like I said, I think that might be one of their weird kink things, because he almost, I'm not going to show it because I don't want YouTube to get on my ass about that, even though I'm talking about a Game of Thrones show. But to me, it didn't seem like it was like that. Like he almost even kisses her, like out of like that weird kind of passionate anger kind of thing. And like I said, she forgives him, like she doesn't bring it up at all. She doesn't like seem, oh my God, how, I can't believe you did that. Whereas somebody that would have been an abusive situation for the first time, like it didn't seem that shocking to her, at least in my opinion, from what I saw of it. So I don't know, it doesn't seem like that was out of place in that situation where a lot of people are losing their freaking minds about it. Like I said, I'm going to do a whole separate video on it. But so they have their little spat, and they're not as unified in this episode like they usually are, because obviously Daemon wants to go to war and she doesn't. She wants to try to solve it diplomatically. Because she's like, well, it's my duty to the throne. Like I have to do these things. This is what my father expected me. And, one of the things that made Daemon choke her was she brought up the song of Ice and Fire. And she's like, no, there's a bigger picture here, Daemon, which you're not seeing. And because she assumed that Daemon knew the song of Ice and Fire because he was originally Viserys' heir, she assumed that he told him, because Viserys said, like, this is the only, like, I have to tell my heir, meaning, Rhaenyra. But because Daemon was his heir for a long time, she assumed that he knew. And so when he didn't know, which is something that he would have been interested, because when he was over in Penthos, he was reading all of the histories of Valyria and his family and all of that. So Daemon is interested in this kind of stuff. So that could be another reason why it set him off to choke her, because he's just like, she's like, there's a bigger picture. Like, what do you mean you don't know about this? I thought you would have known about this. And I mean, that seems kind of weird that they never brought it up. They've been married for a long time. You think that she would have talked to him about that at least once, but apparently they didn't. And so the choking thing happens, and we move on from there. So Corlys, I can never pronounce his name correctly, Rhaenys' husband, he comes back, and he broke his fever, so he's gonna survive. He's got a little limp, he's got a little injury, but so he's like, fuck Rhaenyra, like, let's just go off. And he's like, I was wrong to have left you for so long, to his wife, and he's like, let's just chill. And she's like, no, like, Rhaenyra is showing the most restraint. Rhaenyra is not immediately going to war like everybody wants to. Like, she's going to be our queen, and we need to back her. It's your grandchildren's, lives that are on the line here, because if we don't back Rhaenyra, we're going to lose all of our grandchildren. And like she mentions the boys, but they don't really talk about how they both know that they're not their son's children. But I mean, at the same time, their granddaughters are Daemon's children. Whatever happens to Daemon reflects on their granddaughter. So they kind of have to back Daemon and Rhaenyra, because even though everyone knows that the boys aren't their biological grandchildren, it's still that name. Like, they still have their son's name and their name. And, you know, whatever happens to Daemon, like, that's a reflection on the girls. And so they have to for their granddaughters, because they know that their granddaughters are their biological grandchildren. So Lord Corlys swears his alliance, or why can't I talk right now? Allegiance to Rhaenyra, and he basically says, yo, I got the biggest fleet. We're gonna back you. You got us. You got all of our ships. You got all of our dragons. Also, guess what? My 6-year, you know, little shit show over in the Stepstones, guess what? I fucking took it over, and now I control it. And I didn't just, you know, take it over and control it. I set up like my own like kind of like government system there. So we're going to cut off all of the supplies to King's Landing. So they're going to be fucked. And so Rhaenyra's like, yay, I could win. And this is when she makes the fundamental fucking mistake. And they're like, oh, okay, well, we're going to send ravens to the Baratheons, the Arryns, excuse me. And her mother was an Arryn, so she's already like, oh yeah, my mother was an Arryn, so they're probably going to be loyal to me because of my mother, and they got to go see the Starks. So we got the Arryns and the Starks, which are both up in the north, and then you have the Baratheons. And so they're like, oh, instead of sending ravens, let's send dragons, because, hey, the dragons will get there faster. And the boy, like, let's send the boys. And so she sends Jace, her oldest son, to go see the Arryns and to go see the Starks, and then she sends Luke to the Baratheons. Now, I don't know why any of these people here didn't mention, hey, maybe the Greens have the same idea. Let's not send one dragon, let's send 2 dragons to these locations. So Luke and his girl, well, honestly, I would have sent well, I don't think she has a dragon, so she couldn't go. So I would send, you know, one of the Valyrian girls with one of the boys and their dragons, probably a Jace, and I can't remember which one has the dragon, but let's send her, like, those 2 up north. And then Daemon honestly should have gone with Luke. Or Daemon should have just gone by himself to go to the Baratheons. Honestly, I think 2 dragons would have been better than 1, because they should have thought of that. What if they send Baelor, the biggest fucking dragon in the world? What if Aemon and Baelor are at one of these places, because the Greens know that these would be the 3 houses that could potentially be still loyal to Rhaenyra? They need to send it, which is obviously what happened. So when Luke shows up at the Baratheons, freaking Aemon's there, the one that freaking hates him because he cuts out his eye. So I'm pretty sure if, you know, Daemon would have gone with Luke, or heck, even if Rhaenyra would have gone with Luke, there's 2 dragons. I think Aemon would have been a little bit more hesitant, and it would have been, you know, interesting to see that dynamic between Daemon and Aemon at, you know, the Baratheon house. And the way that it is in the book is that Lord Baratheon, it was more of a stance, because they made him kind of a douche in this episode who couldn't read. And it's in the book, it's more so he's like, well, no, the crown needs to pass to a boy. Aegon is a boy and Rhaenyra is a girl. It just makes sense. Like, that's the way it's always been done. And it didn't seem as like malicious, at least in my opinion, the way that it is in the books versus the way that it is in the show. And so having Aemon there, and if Daemon, obviously he wasn't, but if Daemon was there, that would have been a much more intense, because I don't think Aemon would have gone after Luke and Daemon, even though he does have Baelor. I don't think he would have gone after them, because he does have that intimidated aspect of, you know, Daemon being there. And if you know what's going to happen, then you know what's going to happen between those 2. But shit gets fucking real, and I can't wait to see that. But Luke goes, and the second he lands, it's storming, because it's Storm's End, and it's a beautiful shot. And this is why it's like this with no context. This is what the big crowning moment of the episode. Oh yeah, I forgot Otto shows up and is like, here's the terms, here's a little note about Nymeria from Alicent trying to do peace and whatnot. And Rhaenyra should have just fucking killed all of them right there because they're on the little bridge. She should have just burned them with her fucking dragon. If I was her, I'd be like, no, bitches, you were a snake at my father's side. You probably fucking put fucking poison all over the Iron Throne. You're probably the reason my father fucking died. If I was Rhaenyra, I would have got my dragon mill like Dracarys and just burned everyone and left, you know, Daemon and all of his men. Heck, if I was fucking Daemon, I would have done that. And he could have just been like, sorry, babe. Like, if she's mad at him, sorry, babe. They pissed me off. And I'm like, all right. But she should have done that. But anyways, that happened in the beginning of the episode. I saw it. I didn't mention it until now. But so... Luke... he shows up and... You know, basically Baratheon's like, no, fuck you. You brought me nothing except, you know, trying to rub in my face that my father owes a debt. I'm not, you know, fuck you. Aemon's going to marry one of my daughters. Are you going to marry one of my daughters? And he's like, no, I'm already betrothed. Luke, I mean, he's a kid, so you can't really judge him too hard for not thinking in the moment. He was obviously very, like, terrified because he's there by himself, which is a dumb move in and of itself. Like, he's the one with the girl that's got the dragon. Like, if anything, she could have come with him. Because at the same, I don't think Aemon, even though he's psycho, I don't think he would have attacked her. I don't think he would attack a woman. And I don't, at this point in the story, I don't think he would have tried to take on 2 dragons. Because that's one thing. Even though you got the biggest dragon, it's not going to be as maneuverable, which we see. But so anyways... He wants Luke to cut out his eye, and he's like, you can't just come in here and then just expect to walk out. And he's like, you better fucking give me your eye. And he throws him a knife, and he takes off his eye, and you can see the blue jewel. And Lord Baratheon's like, no, get the fuck out. You're not spilling blood. He's a messenger. You got to respect the rules, the procedures, and all of that. So he's like, get the fuck out. And Luke gets the fuck out. He runs on his dragon and he flies off. And I'm like, fly, just go as fast as you can. Just keep going. Even though I knew what was going to happen. I was like, fly. I was like, go faster. Just run or hide or just fucking hide. Like, fly off and then dive down and then go hide in the rocks because you got a little dragon. Your little dragon can hide. This big motherfucker can't hide very well. So just go hide. Just go hide, Luke. And I was like, please, even though I knew it was going to happen. And lo and behold, you get the big ass dragon showing up. They get into like a little fight, and like Aemon seems, at least the way that they portrayed him in the show, it's very different. It's not very different, but they do change it from the book. In the book, spoiler alert, obviously Luke dies in this scene. But in the episode, it makes it seem like more of an accident, like these boys can't control their dragons. And so like you can even see Aemon, like he's trying to control his dragon to not, you know, go after Luke and his dragon, and he's like screaming at him, no, like listen to me. And his dragon like just isn't listening to him, and he can't control his dragon. And that's when, you know, his dragon kills Luke, and his dragon like bites him, and you see their pieces all flying, which is like, it's gross. And it sucks because Luke, his dragon was so little, like it was literally like this, like not even kidding. They must be getting inspiration as far as I don't know, their storyboarding. It was literally like this to a T. And it sucked because like right when like Luke gets away, he stops flying fast. I'm like, fly fast. And I was like, stay in the storm so that way they can't see you. But I mean, the dragons probably have a great sense of smell, so it's not like they couldn't find it. But just, you know, your psycho uncle who has a vendetta against you is chasing you on his big ass fucking dragon. You are on your little dragon. Maybe you can fly faster. I don't really know the logistics of how dragons and their abilities are, especially in this world. But Luke, just tell him to fly. It's like, bitch, fly fucking fast. Just go. Stay in the storm. Try to stay close to like the lightning and the thunder. I know it's dangerous, but the little dragon is going to be able to maneuver a lot better, I think, around lightning and shit than the big dragon. Stay in the storm. Don't go above the clouds. Stay in the fucking storm. Stay close to where the storm is happening. And the big dragon, yeah, it's going to be fast because it's got a bigger wingspan. It's going to be like, grr, but it's going to get hit by the lightning and fucked up with the wind and the thunder. It's going to get fucked if it tries to stay, right behind you. So, I mean, and I was even going like, dive into the water and go into the water so he loses you. Maybe that changes your scent and whatnot, like, because it washes off. And I was like, even though I knew he was going to die, I was just like, go, fly, dude, fly. And then he gets eaten or bitten up into pieces and he dies. And then we get the end, which is Rhaenyra's around the table and Daemon finds out and Daemon comes up. We don't even hear Matt Smith. Like, Matt Smith has no dialogue. Matt Smith just walks over. He takes her hands. He puts his head next to her. He whispers into her ear. And, like, they walk off towards the fire. And then she turns around and she's like, "Rah!" Nothing is said. And the episode ends because she just found out that Luke died. And she said earlier in the episode, she's like, I'm not going to start a war. I'm not going to start the war. And you know what? She didn't. She didn't. The Greens did with Aemon not being able to control his dragon. And he even has that, oh, fuck, look on his face. Like, he's got to go fly back to King's Landing and tell his mom, yo, mom, I just killed one of the princes. And Alicent's going to be like, fuck, now we're at war. And so it was just that shit. And so that's one of the big things, though, that they did change from the book to the show, is that in the book, Aemon 100% killed him out of spite and, that vengeance and that hate. But in the show, they made it seem more like, oh, it was an accident. Like, he couldn't control his dragon. Luke couldn't control his dragon because they're kids. Like, I know Aemon looks a little, well, obviously the actor's older than the actor that was playing Luke. But I mean, at the end of the day, they're still boys. They're not men. They haven't lived a full life like Daemon has, like half of the men on this show have. They're very clearly still children, and they're children fighting a dangerous game, the Game of Thrones. And so that was the episode. I found it very enjoyable to watch. I was on the edge of my seat almost the entire time, or I was cringing back and like, what are you doing with the blood and all of that stuff? But I found it very entertaining. There was stuff that I was like, like I know you guys might think it's like a dumb little critique, but the smoke not coming out of the table, like that was like something that I was like, this kind of took me out of it. There's just little things and like little inaccuracies from the book to the show. But at the same time, the book is like written by historians. And so they tend to glamorize stuff. And I think that's kind of what, it must have been an interview that I saw with George R.R. Martin where he was like, oh, well, history, and Lord Corliss even said this. He's like, history doesn't remember blood, it remembers names. And like when you have people that weren't actually there that are retelling these events, they tend to glamorize certain things. So it's not as irritating to me as it, probably would be if it was more like the way that Game of Thrones was written, where it's from people's own perspectives. But so that is something to take in mind, that there is differences from the book to the show. But overall, I thought it was a good episode. I wish that it would have had a little bit more of Matt Smith. That's probably because I like Matt Smith, and I was really frustrated with Daemon in this episode. But again, that's part of his character. And I will be doing a follow-up video just to talk specifically about Daemon and his actions in episode 10. But that was the season finale of Game of Thrones. It was very enjoyable, at least in my opinion. I enjoyed it. I was, completely captivated the entire time. I thought it was good. The scenes that it kind of did lag in, I think that they did that purposely for the pacing. And I enjoyed it. I would highly recommend watching the show if you haven't. Go ahead and, now you can binge it, so you don't have to wait and be on the edge of your seat for, 10 episodes. It's going to suck waiting for the next season, but now that we're at a full-out war, I feel like each episode is going to be you're sitting on the edge of your seat seeing who survives. But that fits in with Game of Thrones. But so yeah, that is my review, little synopsis and feelings about this episode. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, let me know what you think about all of this down below in the comment section. If you guys liked my video, please smash the like button. If you didn't, that's okay too. Thank you so much for watching this far through. And until next time, I hope you guys, also subscribe, do all that stuff. But until next time, I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day, morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And may the force be with you, because we are really, really, really going to need it. Bye, everyone. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed my video. Thank you so much again for supporting my channel and my content. And if you guys would like to support me further, my cosplay calendar, my gamer edition cosplay calendar is live still now on Indiegogo for a limited time only. We were very, very successful in the campaign, and we are currently in demand. In demand is only going to be up for a limited time only, so be sure to go check it out before we take this down. And guys, once again, thank you so much for this. If you guys want to go and back this campaign, the link is down below in the description of this video, and make sure that you guys check it regularly because I do add updates on there and more photos are coming soon. So thank you guys. And last but not least, guys, I have a Twitch that I am trying to go. I am at 5.7k followers right now, and I'm trying to get to 10,000 by the end of the year. So if you guys haven't gone and followed me over on Twitch, go and do so now. The link is in the description of this video. I play a lot of games on here like Elden Ring and KOTOR, so go check it out if you haven't already. And that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.